Call the October 13th, 2021 at 6 p.m. to order. You'll notice Ms. Nicholas isn't with us. She should join it. Oh, she's here. Are you here, Valerie? Okay, she joined us. She told me to run the meeting, so we'll do our best. Ms. Rao, could you please call the roll?
Mr. DeWalt,
Here.
Mr. Les,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Sidnor,
Here.
President Nicholas,
Here.
Mayor Mo.
I'm here.
Thank you, Ms. Rao. Okay, we have next agenda item is the approval of the minutes of the work session on July 7th, 2021, special work session on July 12th, the 35th meeting on July 12th, and the 36th meeting on July 26th, 2021. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Now go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, I got Keith as the made the motion. I have a second.
I added some corrections. I think the Madam Clerk corrected it on the 35th meeting for July the 12th, 2020-21. Madam Clerk, you made those corrections?
Yes, Mr. Sidnor, it did.
Thank you.
All right, I have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Francis. Any other discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
President Nicholas.
Yes.
Agenda item number 4, report of mayor and city council. And tonight I will start with Carl.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple things. This morning I helped out at Lars. Me and my truck delivered some furniture for a needy family. I do that like probably about once a month. They call me when they need transportation and they need furniture for people that are just getting on their feet and moving into some of these apartments that they give them. Last week I helped out with cats, Helen with cats. I picked up a cat up at Spay Now who was fixed and got all his shots and everything, and I delivered him. He wasn't too pleased to be in that cage, but when I let him go at his parents' home, he was very, very happy. And then last Friday, I 2 Fridays ago, I donated my time at the American Legion volunteering there in one of their Friday night fundraisers. These are 3 great charities in our community that do a lot for our citizens and members, the businesses and the members of our community. I had the honor to meet our new police analyst, India, and I'm going to pronounce her name. I hope it's right. The end is Sayed. She's very, very smart, and we're going to be working on some of the agendas and things for the new, as far as the public safety and transportation meeting goes. Now, with her knowledge, we should get a lot of information that will be very valuable to us. Over the weekend, I traveled to Cincinnati, Ohio. I went to the University of Cincinnati Bearcat football game, who are now ranked 3rd in the nation. I met 3 of my former teammates from the 70s that I've had the honor to play with: Joe Garfolo, Ed Jones, and Danny Raines. We had a great time. It was quite the atmosphere. I didn't recognize hardly anything on the campus because it's been over 40 years since I've seen them and the campus itself. But it's very exciting. met a lot of nice people there, and it was an honor to see my three great friends. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carl. Next, we'll go to Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Temp. On September 27th was a National Voter Registration Day. And I want to thank the Communication Department because last year we did a video and I was unable to go into the school this year because of COVID. So Principal Dinkins, we re-aired that video again on registering people, high school students to vote at Laurel High School. So once again, that's something that Communication Department did. I was acting like a robot though, but it's still useful information that can be used over and over. So once again, thanks to Communication Department for that. I also want to say happy birthday to the United States Navy. The Navy was created on October 13, 1775. We're 246 years old. Had the opportunity to serve in that great Navy for 24 years. I think Deputy Chief was also a Navy man. So I want to thank Deputy Chief for his service in the United States Navy as well. And any other listeners out here today that's a United States Navy veteran, we salute you guys and go out and get some ice cream and cake tonight. Complete my report, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, Keith. Go to Francis now.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. I was able to attend the Laurel Police Award ceremony. I also have a Halloween costume skate party for the community in partnership with at the Laurel Skating Rink here in Laurel. It's just engagement again, just a time for the community to come together and have a little bit of cheer. You know, COVID-19 is still going on. We're asking everyone to wear masks, whoever comes to attend. And also I attended the Royal Chapel House's service this past Sunday, just doing some community engagement and encouragement about the upcoming elections and participating in our city's election cycle, trying to get people to register. So that's very important. Anyone watching, I hope that you register. If you aren't registered, then please participate. Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem.
Thank you, Francis. Go to Valerie now.
Thank you. Well, happy birthday to the U.S. Navy. And thank you, Councilman Signor, for your service. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Valerie. I just mentioned I attended the COG, Council of Governments Directors meeting today. One of the major portions of the meeting was given off to the chiefs of police. And just so happens that our Chief Hamill is the chair of that group. And what they were talking about was the crime rate in the region. And it's not lost on anybody because they see it and they hear it, that the crime rate has increased somewhat. They didn't attribute it to any one thing. Of course, the pandemic is part of the reason. The other thing is the constant call to defund the police. There was another one out of Baltimore, I guess, this weekend. Whether you think they've got too much money or they don't, that's not going to solve the problem, because the crime rate goes up when you don't have enough police on the street to maintain order. I also want to thank the two police officers from Laurel that were on hand to welcome the families for the police week. I think it's in Washington this week, and it was good to see all the officers from around the area lined up to welcome the families. That concludes my report. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. The couple things. First, I want to offer my condolences to the Greenstein family. Dan Greenstein was a longtime member of the Laurel Fire Department, as well as the Laurel Rescue Squad, very active in the community. So Dan passed away, and we want to offer our condolences again to the Greenstein family, as well as members of the fire department and the rescue squad. The Laurel Police Department did have their quarterly award ceremony. I want to congratulate all the award recipients. And again, I think there's a lot of stories out there that we need to make sure the general public knows about. And we are again pushing that information out at all different levels and platforms. So congratulations to all of them. I do want to thank Mike McGowan and Rob Cecil at the law firm there on Main Street for their invitation to be with them and their partners, as well as many of their clients at the day at the races over at the Laurel Racetrack. It was in person, and I know they were happy to have that annual event now that hopefully our COVID numbers seem to be going down. Again, even at those types of events, there are many, many people that are wearing masks, except when they're eating and they're drinking. So again, I want to thank them and thank them for all they do in the community as well. It was National Coffee with a Cop Day at the MARC train station and at SIP on C Street. Congratulations again to the police department for all of their efforts of reaching out to the community in many different ways. The Laurel Police Department also had a crew out there picking up trash at the Granville Goody Park. Again, so I know they had several volunteers come out as well and assist them. So again, thank you very much. The Laurel Fire Department did have their annual awards banquet ceremony. They kept it, COVID restrictions, especially in the firehouse there. But they did have their annual awards banquet. I want to congratulate them. And one of the things, the mayor always gives the firefighter of the year out, which is elected by the membership. This year, we presented it to the entire membership of the Laurel Fire Department, both the members that are active as well as EMS and those that are in the auxiliary for the past 18 months. Many of those volunteers have done and put out numerous hours into the community when it wasn't safe for many. And I was happy to do that. And again, want to congratulate them. Also, for those that may not have known, the police department did have conversation with the cop at St. Mary of the Mills. And again, I heard some very good feedback on that. Chief, I know you're listening. I want to thank you all again. And this past the week, the Maryland Municipal League had their fall conference where we did receive our sustainability award. That was held at Turf Valley in Howard County. So I was glad to go over along with Robert Love and the city administrator, Lou Ann Crook, and receive that award. So thank you to all that are doing the work and allowing us to get recertified. Just a couple announcements from 8 on October the 16th, from 8 a.m. until 12, the electronics recycling, paper shredding, the green drop and styrofoam event at the Farrell Foundry Public Works Complex at 305-307 First Street. Very happy, along with the Department of Public Works, to bring this back in October, this recycling event. So I want to remind everybody, gather up your old important papers, old electronics, lightly used home goods. And this time we have something new this year. Certain styrofoam products will be taken as well. So come on down to Public Works on First Street there and take part on Saturday, October the 16th from 8 a.m. until 12. And you must have ID. It's for those live within the city of Laurel. So if you have any questions, you can contact the Department of Public Works directly as well. But I want to thank them and for their hard work putting this together and getting it back to the community. And last but not least, let me also, Mr. Sidnor, let me wish you the very best and all those that served in the Navy, and happy birthday to them as well, and all those that serve and continue to serve. So thank you very much, Mr. President. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, we'll move to agenda item 5, general public hearing. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the City of Laurel will be holding virtual meetings. The public is asked to submit written testimony on agenda items to the Laurel City Clerk at krau@laurel.md.us by 2 p.m. on meeting dates. Ms. Rao, is there anyone signed up to speak general public hearing?
There's nobody signed up to speak tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Rao. I'll open the public hearing at 7:14. I'll close the public hearing at 7:14 and a half. Agenda item number 6, consideration of bid recommendation to Avaya telephone system upgrade. Department of Information Technology. This was discussed at the work session on Wednesday, October 6th. Kevin Frost, you have the floor. Kevin, you're with us? Is anybody here from IT?
Kevin is on the call. He seems to be having some trouble with his microphone.
How about now?
You sound good now, Kevin.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, Mayor and City Council members. The Department of Information Technology, as discussed at the work session, has a current CIP product to upgrade our Avaya phone system. This will be a major version up software upgrade, and at the same time, we'll be integrating Avaya 911 Secure into our phone system. The installation of Avaya 911 Secure is necessary for us to comply with 2 new federal laws, Kerry's Law and Raybaum's Act. Kerry's Law is in effect now, and Raybaum is going into effect shortly. The completion of this project will put us in compliance with both of those federal laws. Our Avaya partner is Converge One of Bloomington, Minnesota. Converge One is a master contractor on the state of Maryland PBX3 Telecommunications Equipment and Services Master Contract 060 Bravo 1400048. And I'd also like to add they have an office here in Rockville, Maryland. Funding is provided in the current CIP, and the cost of the project is $106,585.63. The Department of Information Technology is recommending that the Mayor and City Council award Converge One of Bloomington, Minnesota, a $106,585.63 contract for the software upgrade of Avaya phone system and the installation and configuration of Avaya 911 Secure. Contract vehicle is the state of Maryland PBX3 Telecommunications Equipment and Services Master Contract. With that, Mr. President, I'll answer any questions.
Does council have any questions?
Mr. President, can I ask just a couple basic questions, please?
Sure.
Mr. Frost, I had IT problems at the work session, and I got them resolved the next day, but I wasn't able to attend. And just a couple questions for you. So the system itself, people are going to be able to, instead of 725-3000, they're going to be able to dial 911 and get our dispatchers. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct. So you know, the 911 system is currently, well, it is managed by the county, and that is typical in the state of Maryland. The PSAPs, the Public Safety Answering Point, which is the 911 center in all Maryland counties, they manage the 911 center. As you're aware, Maryland does have, the City of Laurel does have our own number, 301-725-3000, that we call our emergency number, and anybody in the city can call that directly, and they will get the dispatchers. If somebody were to call 911, they would get the county call taker. Once that person enters the address into the system, they will be notified it's the City of Laurel, and then they will call our dispatchers directly and pass the call off.
So the only upgrade to this whole system is getting to identify the caller easier. Is that my understanding for that?
Yeah, so the 2 federal laws, the first one, Kerry's Law, that just requires that you do not have to hit any prefix before when you hit 911. So in our building, Right now, if you needed to call 911, you would have to hit 9 because that's how you get the outside line. And a lot of hotels and other places, that is the same thing. So what it's saying is now is to comply with the law, you should only have to hit 911. That's Kerry's law. Raybomb Act, what Raybomb Act is going to do is it's going to give the PSAP, the 911 center, a lot more information on your location at the building and specifically in the building. So the example I would use at the police department, if an officer on the second floor in room 201 called the 911 center, they would actually get 811 Fifth Street, and it would say the caller is in room 201. That's what this does.
That's very, very good. The only other question, my last question is there going to be anything that's going to help the Prince George's County 911 call taker to not put us on hold or to delay a 911 call, or we don't have any control over that?
No, that's, and there's actually two people that in that process. The initial call comes into the call taker, and then that person determines if it's a fire or a law enforcement call, and then they send it to the fire or the police dispatcher. So there's two steps that have to take place. And typically you hear of sometimes people being on hold trying to get to the call taker.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Carl. Keith?
No question, Mr. Pro Tem.
Thank you. Francis?
No question, sir.
Thank you. Valerie?
No questions.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the recommendation for Ayana telephone system upgrade.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Carl. Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
President Nicholas.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Move to agenda item number 7. Consideration of bid recommendation to Citywide concrete repair, Department of Public Works. This was discussed at the work session on October 6th. Brian Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mayor Moore, and council members. As discussed at the work session, this project for the construction and repair of concrete sidewalks, ADA compliant pedestrian ramps, and concrete curbings at various locations throughout the city of Laurel. The funding for this project is provided in the 2022 CIP reauthorization of ordinance number 1971 in the amounts of $75,988.82, which is allocated for curb and gutter improvements, and $89,588.11, which is allocated for the project sidewalk improvements. Just to note that that's the total that's in the particular fund available to us. It is recommended that the mayor and city council award the project in the amount of $95,000 to NZI Construction Corporation, a certified minority business enterprise and a Prince George's County based small business located in Beltsville, Maryland. NZI was selected by Prince George's County after a competitive bidding process for Prince George's County contract number 932A-HF/D for asphalt resurfacing and related roadway improvements. As done previously, the Department of Public Works will be able to ride that county contract for unit pricing. NZI has satisfactorily completed several projects for the city within the years of 2012 to 2021. They have consistently been on time and on budget, and I'm ready to answer any questions you may have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions of Brian? Okay, seeing no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Pro Temp, I make a motion to award the contract to bid recommendation to Citywide concrete repair.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Call the roll, Ms. Brown.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
President Nicholas.
Yes.
Thank you, Brian. Move to
Welcome.
agenda item number 8. Consideration of bid recommendation to fleet acquisition, 2023 Freightliner commercial rear loader for the Department of Public Works. This was discussed at the work session on October 6th. Brian Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you again, Mr. President, Mayor Moore, and council members. The Department of Public Works is requesting approval of one 25 cubic yard refuse truck to be used as a part of our DPW fleet. This vehicle will replace vehicle number 24, a 2004 recycling truck that has exceeded its lifespan by several years. This acquisition will not increase the vehicle fleet. Prior to assembling a bid package for this purchase of the vehicle, the department contacted several agencies to inquire if there were any current contracts for models that equal or exceeded our needs. We were successful in finding a suitable refuse truck as a member of Sourcewell, a contracting company that specializes in finding fleet and product services for municipal and state governments. The successful bid is through Grand Turk Equipment Company of Baltimore, Maryland, under Refuge Collection Vehicle Contract number 091219-LEG. The funding is in the 2022 CIP. We authorize funds for fleet acquisition project. Cost of the vehicle is $208,376.80. It is recommended that the purchase of this vehicle be approved at the cost as specified above by Grand Turk Equipment Company. Thank you, and I have any questions, and I'm ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions of Brian on this acquisition? Seeing none, call the roll, Ms. Rowe. Excuse me, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to award the contract 2023 Freightliner commercial rear loader.
You have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Call the roll, Ms. Brown.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
President Nicholas.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. Move to agenda item number 9, consideration of a recommendation to Citywide traffic and parking study for the Department of Public Works. This was discussed at the work session on October 6th. Brian, you have the floor again.
Thank you, sir. Council members, Mayor Moe. The Department of Public Works is requesting approval to procure the services of an architectural and engineering firm to perform a citywide traffic and parking study. The scope of the study entails conducting a comprehensive citywide study to establish strategic street and roadway priorities, determine the need for and types of additional traffic control devices, traffic volume and flow and access, whether existing street parking and locations have negatively impacted traffic, restrict line of sight, or create hazardous conditions to pedestrians and other roadway users. The study will include 2 parts. Part 1 will concentrate on parking assessments and recommendations for the existing parking demand, usage and recommendations pertaining to the Unified Land Development Code, revisions, vehicle restriction policies, meter/permit parking, and or new parking facilities. Part 2 will provide a comprehensive traffic study, safety study, speed study, traffic calming recommendations, existing roadway conditions and characteristics, assessment findings, and recommendations for potential mitigation. Funding for this project is approved in the 2021 CIP Citywide Traffic Parking Analysis for $250,000. Recommendation. The department requested proposals from the 3 architectural and engineering firms under contract by the city, of which 2 submitted completed bids. Century Engineering submitted a proposal in the amount of $190,200, and KCI Technologies submitted a proposal in the amount of $192,005. Upon review, it is recommended that the mayor and city council approve the proposal submitted by Century Engineering in the amount of $190,200. Century Engineering has highly qualified personnel and a very experienced traffic engineering team that will be assigned to this project. A report, as well as a presentation to the mayor and city council, will be presented as a part of their final project delivery. I am here to entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions at this point of Brian?
Mr. Pro Tem, Les, I have a question, please.
Yeah, go ahead, Carl.
Once this is, if this is approved tonight, when do they start, and when do they, if there's 2 phases, when do we look on the completion of both phases? What estimated time?
Thank you for that. And if it's approved tonight, they'll start within 30 days and they'll be completed between 90 and 100 days.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Carl. Any other questions of Brian?
Now I just say mine till I vote. It's just a statement, no question.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to put my reading glasses on. I'm trying to talk without reading. Okay. I make a motion to approve the citywide traffic and parking study.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brentis. Is there any further discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Sidnor,
Before I make my vote, I want to make a statement, Mr. President. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is something that's very important to the city. As I canvass the area, a lot of citizens have been complaining about parking and speeding throughout the city. And that's going to be a continuous thing in all municipalities. But I'm glad that we're going to take a look at this, because I was sponsored legislation a year ago and we finally getting it done. So looking forward to the results so we can, come back with a study, come back with some analysis to, reduce the speeding and reduce the parking. I reduce the parking. Hopefully find better ways people can park their cars. The visibility is pretty bad on various streets throughout the city. So this is very important to our citizens. So I'm glad that I hope this will get approved tonight. So I vote yes.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Councilmember Les, could I make one comment before I vote, please?
Go ahead, Carl.
I want to echo what Councilmember Sidnor said. I think this is one of the most important, other than our environmental issues. I think this is one of the most important things in the city that we have to address. I complain about the 11 and 1200 block of Montgomery Street, while Councilmember Sidnor complains about Oxford Drive. That's all I hear from my constituents is the speed, not stopping at stop signs. And the other bigger issue is the noise that these little cars make, but that's already been trying to get resolved from our legislators and everything. We also have some a lot of problems with our parking, especially the unit block of 4th Street, which is, if both cars are parked on both sides of the street, you have a clearance of about 9 feet. And if we have cars parked up and down there and we have an emergency, there's going to be trouble getting emergency equipment down there. And we got to address that sooner or later, because now you got, as soon as that B and C Street flats starts their development, you're going to have more and more people coming over. That's only 2 streets away from it. So there is a lot of issues, and a lot of our constituents are complaining about the speed, waiting in traffic, which is on a Friday night on Montgomery Street. That thing could go all the way up from 7th and Montgomery all the way up to Sandy Spring Road. And this is long overdue. We put it in over a year ago, and finally it's getting done. And within 90 to 100 days, it would be a great, great asset to the city and our citizens. And hopefully it can help answer a lot of their questions and resolve a lot of their issues. Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it.
Need to vote, Carl.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
President Nicholas.
Yes.
Okay, thank you again, Brian. We'll move to agenda item number 10, consideration of a bid recommendation to Employee Benefit Insurance, Department of Budget and Personnel Services. This was discussed at the work session on October 6th. Lisa Woods, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President, Mayor, and council members. As discussed at the work session on October 6, 2021, the city offers health, dental, and vision coverage to their employees, their dependents, and to the retirees. We used the NFP group to conduct the bidding process. There were no bids provided from United, Cigna, or Care First. Kaiser's bid was competitive, but the structural different model of care Aetna is more beneficial to our employees' continuing of care. Aetna bid has a rate increase of 10% for our current health rate with Aetna. The dental and vision contract price is guaranteed for 2 years, and this is the second year of the contract. Funding is available in the adopted FY 2022 general operating budget. I respectfully request approval of the award to the recommended bidder, Aetna, for the health, dental, and vision insurance from November 1st, 2021 to October 31st, 2022. Thank you, Mr. President. And I'll answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Lisa. Anybody have any questions of Lisa at this point?
Just one question, Mr. President, please.
Go ahead, Carl.
Lisa, I've been going to the same eye doctor for well over 35 years, and now he's retired and his daughter's taken over the practice. The way I judge our insurance usually is I call a secretary up there that manages money and manages benefits and everything like that. And she gives me the advice of every time we go with an insurance company, she'll let me know what type of, and this is just for the eye part of it, what type of insurance, if it's good or if it's not, where they're not going to pay much to my eye doctor anyway, which I have to go every 6 months. And when I tell them about Aetna, they always tell me it's no good as far as for eye care, because I have to pay so much out of my pocket for them. And that's just a word from people that use the insurance, and I use it, and that's how I judge it. And the eye part of this Aetna is absolutely horrible. I just want you to know that it's no good, and that's just my opinion. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Any other questions of Lisa? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I will motion to award the contract to Aetna for employment and benefit insurance.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Francis. Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
President Nicholas.
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay, move to agenda item number 11, introduction and first public hearing on ordinance 1987, text amendment number 259, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of Laurel, Maryland, to amend Laurel City Code, Chapter 20, Land Development and Subdivision Regulations, Article 1, Zoning, 20-1.3, Relationship to the City of Laurel Master Plan, 20-1.7, Definitions, 20-1.11, Annexation of Additional Area to City, 20-1.12, Construction and Interpretation of Article, General Provisions, 20-2.1, Building Permits, Use and Occupancy Permits, 20-2.2, Plans, Plats, and Information to accompany applications for permits, 20-2.3, Conditions, 20-2.4, Temporary Use Permit, 20-2.5, Issuance of Use and Occupancy Permit, 20-2.7, Application for Use and Occupancy Permits, Inspection of Premises, Issuance of Certificate of Compliance and Permit, 20-2.6, Suspension, Revocation of Use and Occupancy Permit, 20-3.1, What constitutes violations, continuing violations, 20-3.2, compliance with and enforcement of article, complaints as to alleged violation, 20-3.3, procedure upon verification of violation, penalties, 20-3.4, extension of grace period, 20-4.4, powers and duties, 20-4.5, hearings on proposed plans, regulations, etc. 20-4.6, city administrator, city solicitor, and other officers and employees. 20-6.16, schedule of area, yard, and height regulations for residential uses. 20-7.8, table of commercial uses. 20-9.5, table of industrial uses. 20-10.5, parking regulations. 20-13.11, amendment to revitalization overlay area map. 20-15.2, zoning districts. 20-15.3, satellite earth station antennas having a diameter of 1 meter or less. 20-15.4, commercial office building and industrial zones, satellite earth station antennas having a diameter of 2 meters or less. 20-25.4, powers and duties. 20-25.5, hearings on proposed plans, regulations, etc. 20-25.6, regular meeting dates. 20-25.7, city administrator, city solicitor, director of Department of Community Planning and Business Services, and other officers and employees. 20-26.1, authority. 20-26.2, history, composition and operation. 20-26.3, purpose. 20-26.5, review of applications. 20-26.13, demolition. Article 6, roads and sidewalks. 20-42.5, authority of the director and provisions for an effective date. Robert Love, you have the floor now that I've read that all into the record.
Thank you very much. And good evening. I know.
If I missed anything, you go ahead and correct me, Keith.
You did a great job.
Ahead,
Thank you and good evening, Mr. President, Mayor, and council members. Before you is ordinance number 1987 as required by the State of Laurel Code, providing legislation to amend Laurel City Code, Chapter 20, Land Development and Subdivision Regulations, Article 1, Zoning. As stated, there are 36 different sections that we are updating this time. This is the fourth phase of the Unified Land Development Code update. The proposed changes would update several definitions, yard regulations, municipal fines, shared parking, commercial and industrial use tables, but the bulk of the changes are to update the annotated code of Maryland, titles Article 23A to the local government article and Article 66B to the land use article to correspond with the state. Finally, we updated sections with the formal department name of the Department of Community Planning and Business Services, and we replaced them with the current department names of Department of Economic and Community Development and the Department of the Fire Marshal and Permit Services as it corresponds to that department's duties. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. Ms. Rao, is there anyone signed up to speak?
Mr. Pro Tem, there are nobody signed up to speak on this legislation.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing at 6:42. I'll close the public hearing at 6:42 and a half. The second public hearing with possible action is scheduled for the Mayor and City Council meeting on Monday, October 25th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Move to agenda item number 12, introduction and first public hearing on ordinance number 1988, an ordinance to amend the general operating budget and capital improvement program of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland for the fiscal year July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022, and to provide an effective date. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. Ms. Saylor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council members, Mayor Mo, as we discussed at last week's work session, the second amendment to the FY 2022 operating budget does not provide any sort of net change to the bottom line. There are transfers within the expenditure budgets. There was an additional $17,812 budgeted in the clerk's budget for MML dues, and that's being transferred to the election budget based on the additional mailings that are going to take place. The reduction in the city administrator's budget is to provide funding for the deputy director of economic and community development, as well as additional funding due to the evolution of the job description for the HR officer. So that's the $19,000 going into the Department of Budget and Personnel Services. Those are the only changes at this time to the budget, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
All right. Are any questions of Ms. Saylor at this point? Ms. Rye, is there anyone signed up to speak on this agenda item?
There's nobody signed up to speak on this agenda item.
Thank you, Ms. Rye. I'll open the public hearing at 6:45, and I'll close the public hearing at 6:45.5. The second public hearing with possible action will be at the Mayor and City Council meeting on Monday, October 25th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Move to agenda item 13, introduction and first public hearing on ordinance number 1989, text amendment number 260, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland to amend Laurel City Code Chapter 11, Planning and Development, Article 3, Affordable Housing Program, 11-52, Existing Multifamily, to update the Affordable Housing Program and providing for an effective date. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. Robert Love, you have the floor.
Thank you again, and good evening once again, Mr. President, Mayor, and City Council members. Before you is ordinance number 1989 as required by the City of Laurel Code, providing legislation to amend Laurel City Code Chapter 11 Planning and Development, Article 3 Affordable Housing Program, Section 11-52 Existing Multifamily to update the Affordable Housing Program. This section applies to multifamily buildings that contain 25 or less dwelling units. We would like to propose the following conditions to go along with that, which is that the real property owners that meet the criteria will be eligible for tax credit of 50% of the real estate tax per unit designated as an affordable unit, that the tax credit received per unit shall be deducted from each affordable unit's monthly rent, that all affordable units in the program shall maintain current property maintenance and fire code standards, that all affordable units in the program shall provide air conditioning and heat per Chapter 18 of the Laurel City Code, that each contributing property will participate in the program for 3 years, at which time the property will be reevaluated for renewal into the program. And lastly, that each contributing property shall submit a list of affordable units in the program and the monthly rental price of the affordable units yearly to the Department of Budget and Personnel Services. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Any questions of Robert at this point?
Yeah, Mr. President, I have a question.
Go ahead, Keith.
Have we identified a cap? I know we kind of discussed some of this last week at the general work session. I know we want to do some in Ward 1 and some in Ward 2. But we identify we want to do like 10 properties, maybe 5 in Ward 2 and 5 in Ward 1, or any number like that. We decide. We know it's going to affect our budget in the long run, but we still. I recommend that we do a cap on.
No cap's been determined this time. I know Michelle is going to look very closely at that, and we're going to be come up with a number that makes sense both for these units being dispersed and also for the city.
Okay.
And let me just add this, if I could, Keith. Thank you. Robert, once you've determined if there's going to be a cap, can you make sure that that's disclosed to the council members before the next meeting?
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. President, if I might,
Yeah.
the cap will be done at the budget time each year. That's really how we do it, on
So
what
the
funding
cap
is
floats-
available,
so the
what
cap
funding is
floats.
available and all. So that's
All
really
right.
how we do it, like we've done the other tax credit.
Okay, but there's no written guidelines how we're going to do that, correct? Is that correct, Mayor?
No, because if a council member says put $100,000 into it, $100,000 is going into it. If they say put 25,000, that's what's going to go into it. So
Okay, so, all right, just so this will be something we have to look closely at budget time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you for that clarification.
thank you, Mayor. Okay, anything else? Ms. Rouse, is there anybody signed up to speak on this agenda item?
No, there's nobody signed up to speak on this agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. I'll open the public hearing at 6:49, and I'll close this public hearing at 6:49.5. Move to agenda item 14. Introduction and first public hearing on ordinance number 1990, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland, to add a new section 16-12 entitled Tax Credit Rental Dwellings, providing reduced rents for elderly or disabled tenants of Article 1, entitled in general of Chapter 16, entitled Taxation of the Code of the City of Laurel, to provide for a tax credit for the owner of apartment buildings with less than 25 units to provide reduced rental rates to elderly or disabled tenants, and to provide an effective date. I read the title into the record for the first reading. Michelle, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mayor Mo, and council members. As we discussed at the October 6th work session, as allowed by the State of Maryland Annotated Code Tax Property Article Section 9-219, Ordinance 1990 proposes to add Section 1612 to the Laurel City Code, Chapter 16, Article 1, to establish this tax credit for owners of apartment buildings with 25 units or less, not less than 25 units, that provide reduced rent for tenants 65 years or older, or disabled tenants as determined by Social Security or other factors in the state law. The tax credit would be 50% of the calculated tax per unit on each unit that's devoted to the program, not just the whole building. And it would be based on an application and annual recertification through the Department of Budget and Personnel Services. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Michelle. Is there any questions of Michelle at this point? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Rouse, anybody signed up to speak on this agenda item?
There's nobody signed up to speak on this agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. I'll open the public hearing at 6:41. I'll close the public hearing at 6:41.5. Second public hearing with possible action at the Mayor and City Council meeting on Monday, October 25th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Move to agenda item number 15. Introduction and first public hearing on resolution number 8-21. A resolution of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland, to establish the City of Laurel Juneteenth Freedom Day Celebration Planning Committee. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. Mayor Mo, you have the floor.
nothing since the work session other than this corresponds to action that the council took to make Juneteenth a holiday in the city of Laurel, and it required us to come up with a Juneteenth Freedom Day Celebration Planning Committee.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Are there any questions of the mayor at this point? Is there anybody signed up to speak on this agenda item, Ms. Rao?
There's nobody signed up to speak on this agenda item.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing at 6:42, and I'll close the public hearing at 6:42.5. Second public hearing with possible action at the Mayor and City Council meeting on Monday, October 25th, 2021 at 6 p.m. I'll move to agenda item number 16, introduction and first public hearing on resolution number 9-21, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland, to approve the City of Laurel Executive Policy number 2021-02, alleyway policy, and providing an effective date. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. Mayor Mo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I make a comment on 921, I would like to make a couple comments regarding one action you all have taken and ask for some reconsideration. Resolution 921 is the alley policy. As you know, we've been dealing with the alleys for quite some time. Everybody kind of thinks through the years they had the answers and who owned what. City Administrator Bill Goddard put a lot of time, almost a year and a half, into doing the research, and we have files on everything now. What this does is formalize how we will deal with policies, how we'll deal with the alleyways, and a procedure set up. So I'll answer any question anybody has.
Any questions of the mayor at this point? We have anybody sign up to speak on this agenda item, Ms. Rao?
We do not have anyone signed up to speak.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing at 6:54, and I'll close the public hearing at 6:54.5. Second public hearing with possible action is scheduled for the Mayor and City Council meeting on Monday, October 25th, 2021 at 6 p.m. That concludes the agenda. There being no further business to come before the Mayor and City Council, the meeting is adjourned. Yes, I'm sorry, Mayor. Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you. It's my fault. I guess I should have brought this up before. We talked about it at the work session, and I think I heard what everybody is saying regarding the citywide traffic and parking study. As you know, it came in, I don't have my notes in front of me, about 190,000. The council put out 250,000. My concern is that we did not build a contingency into this, that in case something needs to drill down further or something else needs to be done before this report gets to the council, instead of a report coming back and then having to go back out and do more, I wanted to make sure that we had a contingency built into that. So I'd ask that you think about that. We can come back, but you can see how long it takes for us to get all of this information, come back. I'd rather give the authority to the CA's office that if more money is needed, that it's already there in a contingency. And I'd ask either you look at either a 10% or a 15%, which, 15% is, check my math there, Michelle, 37,000, and I guess the 10% would be about 25,000. But I do think instead of having to come back, and if we're going to get this thing going, and I'm not saying they're going to need it, but you can see the process we have to go through. And we're at this process now. I think everybody wants it done, and I don't want to have to come back time after time if other money may be needed to drill down a little bit more in different areas. I don't know that it will, but I think we ought to consider that now. So that would be my, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right, Mayor. I'll entertain a motion to reopen agenda item number 9 for further consideration.
I'll make a motion for that.
Thank you, Carl. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Keith. Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Laz.
Yes. Okay,
President
so we have,
Nicholas.
Yes.
thank you, Valerie.
Mr. President.
So we have a request by the mayor to go ahead and put a contingency on what we previously approved. and we have up to $250,000 in our budget. What's the thoughts of the council? How much do you think we ought to put in there for contingency?
Mr. President, if I might, I was just going to ask that we've done this in the past, maybe do like a 15%, which is the 37,000, if it's needed. But I think, and again, I apologize, it's my fault for not getting this to you all. But I think the 15% is probably a better way to go.
All right, let me just, this is an important contract. I'm going to let Carl say something. He was going to say something. We let you speak, Mayor. Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I have no problem leaving it at the 250. I mean,
up to 250.
I mean, we've already put it in the budget that's what we're going to plan on spending. Leave it at there. If we have left over, then we can divert it back into the budget or do what we want. But it would be good to have it so it keeps I mean, we've been in this process for a long time. Let's get it going. Let's get it in there. And if they run into little glitches here and there, we'll have the money in there already to fund it. That's the way I think.
Okay, I assume that's a motion. Is that correct, Carl?
Well, that's a motion that we keep.
That's a motion to increase the contingent, have a contingency up to the 250,000. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Mr. Laz,
Yes.
President Nicholas.
Yes.
I want to thank everybody for that indulgence. And with that, we have nothing else on the agenda, and the meeting is closed. Thank you.